Thomas Hale left the surgeon's rooms with a folded note in his pocket and a new, cold fear in his chest. He was 26, and the world still felt wide. The doctor had said, in an even voice, "Your heart is weak. Take care. No sudden exertion." Thomas tried to smile. The smile felt thin. For days, the warning sat in him like a glass globe. He moved through the city as if his ribs held something brittle. He took cabs to avoid hurrying. He climbed stairs slowly. He worked at a narrow desk in a high office under hot lights and the smell of ink. He kept his head down and saved what little he could. He dreamed of hills, rivers, and nights in the open. Those dreams now felt fragile. When the town hall posted a notice for a charity dance, he meant to send an excuse, but being alone at home felt lonelier than the crowd. So he went. He dressed carefully and entered the hall with a watchful step. Flags hung from the rafters. The music was bright. The floor shone. He danced at first with the caution of a man guarding something inside. He did not speak of the surgeon's news. He could hear the replies already, kind, small, and useless. He kept silence. Then he saw her in the gallery. She wore pale green and moved like a tree in wind. She sat with a tall man whose face stayed in shadow. Her eyes found his across the room. Once she smiled, and it fell into him like a stone. He asked people who she might be. They shrugged. They did not know. He lingered, hoping for another sight. Near 2 in the morning, the flags parted, and the gallery showed again. She sat alone now. She looked straight at him and smiled as if she had been waiting. Pain stabbed in his chest. It did not stop him. It put a strange courage there. He leaned a moment and then climbed the wooden steps. She was on the railing when he reached her. She neither started nor hesitated. "About time," she said, voice like leaves. He wanted to tell her about the hills and the rivers, about how the wind filled him. Words failed him. She gave him a name. "Elowen," she said, laughing. "Just Elowen." Her laugh fit the air around her. It made the room quiet. She rose to dance without fuss. "You must be careful," he began, feeling the tremor in his voice. She shook her head. "It won't hurt. I will keep you safe." They moved, and the floor took them up like a boat. The world narrowed to the rhythm between them. His heart, which had felt so fragile, steadied a little. The music seemed to rise within them. Their feet made no sound. Other dancers blurred to pale shapes. Once in a mirror, he thought she was gone. Still he felt her shoulder at his side. They danced longer than any pair should. The hall emptied of its first company and filled with lighter faces. The light itself changed, soft, clean, like a field after rain. No one touched them. They rose beyond the roof and the flags. The rafters fell away and night wind took them. He had the soaring sense of being carried above the hills he had always wanted. His whole life felt as if it had been leading to this step. In that clear air, he knew a hard, simple peace. She leaned against him and laughed once. It sounded like rain beginning. They moved as one. If they came down again, it was without fuss and without explanation. Thomas did not think of money or the office. He had touched a brightness, and it was enough. He remembered the surgeon's hand on his wrist, a kind, careful pressure that meant more than the words. The dance was meant to be a small relief. Most there were neighbors or clerks. There was laughter and the rustle of skirts. He watched, feeling strange and apart. When she watched the dancers, there was a calm around her eyes. She did not belong to the office crowd. She seemed of wind and trees. "You have been thinking of other places," she said once, softly. He said nothing. She smiled as if she understood without words. They stepped down to the floor like any pair. Soon the movement changed. Flags became ribbons. Couples dimmed. His breath eased. The fear loosened. For a time he felt lifted above the ordinary. He thought of the hills he had not reached. When news came, it was short in the paper. A name, a cause. Men at the office turned the page and went on. Yet in town, some recalled other details. A woman said she saw two figures walking into a soft, bright rain. An old man said he heard a laugh like water over stone. These were small things beside the ledger's sums. They meant, for a few, that his ending had a kind of music. Thomas Hale was gone. And for one night, in a town hall with flags and a cheap band, he had been where he had always wanted to be.
Dr. Elias Marlowe had been tired for a long time. The older physician, Conrad Hale, watched him on the station platform and smoked an unlit cigar. They spoke in short sentences. "Take 3 months' rest," said Hale. "A month will do," Elias answered. He spoke as if hunting would cure him. He watched the line of dimly lighted sleepers where porters guided passengers. He told himself small lies. "You sure the dog is all right?" asked the elder. "All right," Elias said. "I spoke with the baggage man." There was a pause. Hale chewed the cigar and watched him with bright eyes. "So you fear you'll break down?" Elias asked, without looking up. "I think you're worn out," Hale said. They traded the kind of small talk men use to hide things. Elias admitted something then. The words came like a stone from a pocket. "I'm in love," he said. Hale let out a soft laugh. It was not kind. "A malady, then," he said. "Not in any paper I know." Elias did not joke. He was serious. "I don't know her name," he said. "I don't even know where she lives." Hale's smile faded. He took his friend's arm. "Ever been like this before?" he asked. "Once, when I was a boy. She was 8. Her name was Eloan. I never spoke to her. I heard she died." Hale asked him to delay. Elias would not. He closed his watch and stepped into the sleeping car. They had not noticed the car's name. It read Larkspur. The train moved and then it stopped. At Morrow Station, trunks tumbled and porters shouted. A white setter dashed free and leaped among the feet of the crowd. Elias took the dog, paid the official, and walked into the sun. He had come to shoot, to be alone, to rest. The innkeeper welcomed him like a regular. He remembered the man's visit 3 years before. Elias listened to the talk of woodcock and linnets. He felt distant. He felt the thinness of his own days. "You're pale," the landlord said. "Take it easy." Elias smiled without meaning it. He kept thinking of the cemetery. It lay west along a lane. He told the landlord he might pass it later. He thought he would not find anything there. He told himself there would be no surprise. But when he walked the lane, the world altered. A silk of light lay under the pines. A figure moved where the path lifted to the hill. For a moment, the air held its breath. Elias's heart beat fast enough to feel in his throat. His dog led and then paused. She sat on the hill, under a lone pine, as if waiting. Her dress was pale and summer-worn. The sunlight made her thin face glow like a small light. Elias knew his voice would change before he spoke. It did. He sounded older and softer and more frightened than he felt. "It is 3 years today," he said. She looked at him without surprise. She did not stand. She let him come. He knelt, clumsy with awe. The pines were still. A wind that had not yet arrived trembled the needles. He told her of places he had known, the million small cities and the cathedral lights and the rain on strangers' shoulders, places where he had seen a face that looked like hers. He told her of passing under trees in foreign towns. She answered with a soft, sure voice. She had seen him, too. He asked her name. She smiled like a secret opening. There was a child, years ago. You sometimes looked at her. You never spoke. He heard the name tumble up from him like a lost thing. Eloan? He asked. It was as if the word had always belonged in the air between them. She did not say no. She did not say yes. She only leaned forward and traced pictures in the moss with her fingers. Her eyes held a sadness that did not belong to a young woman alone in the sun. He told her he loved her. He spoke the words as if casting a stone to test the depth of a lake. She answered, I have loved you many years. Her voice was a soft surrender. She dropped her hands and pressed them to her face, as if to hold in a memory. Then she said something that made the air leave him. Do not touch me yet, she whispered. Wait until I understand. He begged to touch her. He wanted to close the distance. He wanted to mend 3 years with a single movement. She shook her head, pale and resolved. He asked what she meant. The hill smelled of pine and wildflower and late sun. She looked over the valley at a house with shuttered windows and a roof that sat like a secret. She said, I died 3 years ago today. The words were not theatrical. They were small and simple, like the rest of her. Elias felt the ground tilt under his feet. For a moment he could not breathe. He had read things and patients he had seen. There are minds where the body learns to wear beauty without its spark. He had thought of that in his papers. Now the thing he had read gave shape to terror. He laughed once, a sound that surprised him. He covered it with a prayer. Science could conquer many things, he told himself. There might be work to be done, proofs to be found, tests to run. He pictured his laboratory, notes, machines humming. He thought of stealing time to save this patient he loved. Elias watched him with the look of someone who understood both hope and its cruelty. Will you come before the new moon? She asked. I must go when it lies in the west. He promised. He would fetch her father, he said. He would bring whatever was needed. She nodded as if she trusted him. She smiled a little and handed him a sprig of blue gentian. He kissed it and felt a grief too large for words. He walked back through the village with the dog padding at his heels. People eyed him kindly. The landlord asked him about his stay. Elias did not answer. The house on the hill looked unoccupied. The innkeeper's wife remembered a funeral 3 years earlier. She was buried in the family vault, she said. Turned 19 that day. Elias made his way to the great house. The gate was shut. The lawn was a tangle. The windows were boarded. The place lay like a memory turned away. He climbed the hill and lay on the moss beneath the pines. The new moon rose, a thin silver sliver. He felt numb and awake at once. He waited. The night held him like a patient. His face rested on his hand. When morning came, his dog nudged him. Men found him and thought he had slept too long. At first, they believed he was only asleep. They did not know how long a man can wait for a promise that cannot be kept.
The mate had carried the weight for years. He spoke the story at last. His voice was low. He spoke like a man who had kept a secret through storms. It started on the Eleanor Gray, a worn, 2-masted schooner that ran cargo up and down the coast. Captain Shaw commanded her. Harvey was mate. And there were twins on board, Cal and Cole Mercer, identical as if made from the same coin. They wore the same grin. They cursed the same, in the same breath. Crewmen joked you could switch them and no one would notice. That is how it was. A sudden storm came one autumn night. Winds tore the sails to cloth. Waves pitched like angry beasts. Men were thrown and lashed. In the dark, one brother went overboard.
They watched him hit the water and vanish. They shouted his name until their voices turned raw. They hunted the sea with lines and lanterns. At dawn, there was only the cold, indifferent water. They called the man dead. After the storm, small, stubborn things began. The first was a whistle, a tune the dead brother liked, sweet Rosalie, wound through the deck at odd hours. No living mouth could be found. It threaded under sleep and made men wake with their hearts in their mouths. Then the cook started finding plates set beyond the number of men. Cups appeared dry and polished. Spoons lay where no hand had set them. A chair would be warm when no one sat. Sailors felt a presence at their backs. You could feel the place where a man should be. The air on the Eleanor Gray grew thin. Laughter stopped early. The men grew pale. They reached Port Belmont with a crew who had seen too much. Most fled the ship the first night they could. They left without looking back. Only Captain Shaw and Harvey remained. Harvey watched the two brothers with new eyes. He began to suspect something he did not want to name. He thought, maybe the wrong man died. Maybe, in the blind, he had seen one drop and assumed the other was gone. Maybe Cal had gripped his brother and then let him slip. Maybe Cal had stepped ashore after the salvage with the wet on his coat and worn his brother's name. The thought sat like a stone in Harvey's stomach. It ate at his sleep. Years passed. Cal, the one who stayed, left the sea. He bought a small farm inland. He courted a quiet girl named Anna Lou. She had a smile that came slow and meant something. They married. Harvey attended the wedding. On the wedding night, Harvey kept moving like a man pulled by a string. Lanterns hung in the square. Music spilled from open windows. People sang and teased. But Harvey could not be satisfied with the distance between the past and what he thought was truth. He followed the newlyweds. Anna Lou walked home arm in arm. Harvey watched from a dark corner. Moonlight made silver on the lane. Then he saw them. Anna Lou had a man on each side. On her left walked the living Cal. He steadied her with a gentle hand. On her right was a thing of night. The figure wore oilskins. He was dripping with salt. Water clung to his hair. He walked with an odd, slow gait. He did not speak. He did not look toward faces. His hand, pale and cold, slid and closed through the living man's elbow. It moved as if guiding him. Anna Lou stumbled. Her lantern toppled. She cried out. The living man tried to lift her. The oilskin hand tightened at his arm. It pulled him forward as if it knew the path. Harvey ran into the lane. He shouted for them to stop. People turned at his voice. The crowd froze like a herd. The living man's face met Harvey's for a beat. It was the face of the man who had learned how to live. But something in it checked like a crow's wing. He said nothing. They went on toward the sea. Harvey lunged and caught the living man's sleeve. It felt slick. The skin beneath was cold. Harvey's fingers sank into oil as if into dead flesh. He could not drag them back. The other hand at the elbow held fast like a clamp. They stepped into the salt. Water rose to their knees. It came higher with each slow step. Anna Lou fell to her knees and screamed. Her voice broke the night into pieces. Harvey reached the surf line and watched as both men waded deeper. Their shapes blurred in the swell. They moved until the sea took them. Days later, the town reported two bodies. One was a skeleton in oilskins, stiff and black with the sea. The other was a man whose flesh clung to the bones as if they had been braced together. They lay together on the sand like a pair wound into each other. Their hands were locked. Anna Lou survived. She smiled sometimes.
but she never walked back into her life. Her mind had gone to a room no one could enter. The farm Cal had meant to tend stood empty and gone to seed. Harvey carried the sight of that night like a wound. The implication was cruel and cold. Cal had let his brother die that night at sea. Cal had come ashore wearing Cole's fate. Cole came back. He walked his brother down to the water. He took what was his. Harvey told the story in the taverns. Some men laughed and called it superstition. Others grew quiet and folded their hands. Sometimes at dusk, by any harbor or black water, a slow whistle threads the air. It sounds like a man calling his name. It sounds like someone walking back toward the sea.